Maybe it's because they're this black.
Right. I mean, it may have something to do with it.
Montana's my favorite place to drive.
I don't even know if they even have a speed limit up there. It's the Autobahn of America. That whole state.
Montana's got more unlimited speed road than the Autobahn does.
I'm gonna swing the gavel because I was
Because
gonna
that's
make a
really
crack.
shrunk down.
All right, I'd like to call the Village of Middleville Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mike Kramer,
Here?
Steve Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop,
Here.
Richard Hamilton,
Here.
Mackenzie Peters, Kevin Smith,
Here.
Ann Williams.
Here.
All right, please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. We have a motion with support to approve the agenda as printed. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Oh, no?
You're good.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will move on to public comment. All right. Now we will move on to, man, we got no Brandon, we got no Alec. Let's go to.
We can do Alex though. So just so you all are aware, the contractor that is working on Dearborn Street broke a water main this afternoon. So that's where Alec is at. And we did have to issue a boil water notice for that area. First one in Alec's tenure. So,
There's a reason why we were replacing that water main, so.
so anyway, just so you're aware, if you hear anything from constituents, that's what's happening over there. But we're going to let Rhonda handle the parade route.
We will trade the parade route and it will be presented by Rhonda.
Fair enough. Basically, it's all right in there. We did do, I believe, in March of 23, a standard parade route that was taking us all the way to Sheridan for every parade, so they were all the same. What's happening right now is law enforcement is having a little bit of an issue because there's not enough volunteers typically at every parade to block all those intersections. So what's happening is people are coming in off of Grand Rapids and coming into a parade. So the suggestion at this point is to basically just stop all of them at the church with the understanding that there is somebody stationed at church and Main to basically say, if you're too big to go around, they're waving you through. So that's Alec's request, is that we don't just assume that trucks are going to go, but whatever parades happen, there's someone there. And as a side note, you will see a parade request for Memorial Day on Tuesday of next week. And that one is going to have to go down Russell, not to Larkin, because of the construction. So but this is basically just to alter it so that we start at State, go up to Larkin, go to Main to Church.
Is there a resolution or?
No, it's just a motion. There's a
Motion,
map
yep.
there that basically.
To adopt the new,
Ooh,
the revised parade
I
route.
went kind of too far.
I'll make
I'm
a-
sorry.
I'll make a motion to adopt the new parade route presented.
Support. All right, we have a motion with support to adopt the new parade route as seen on the screen. Any further discussion before we vote?
Oh, does this have to go to full meeting?
Oh, yeah. You want a
Probably
full
should
meeting?
do that.
Sorry, you're at an MCOW.
May I amend my motion then to
Yeah.
send this to
I mean, it's up to
the
you, but.
Consent agenda?
consent agenda, yeah.
All right, we have a motion with support to send it's a parade route resolution. Is that what it is?
No,
Or
it's
is it
just a motion. We don't need a resolution.
All right. To send the revised parade route
Yeah.
to the consent agenda.
Mhm.
Any further discussion before we vote?
Mr. President, one quick question. Is this
Sure.
permanent
It's just for this year.
or just for this?
Well, I guess it depends until we change it again. So this is revising the parade route.
permanent, I mean.
Yes.
Quotes. permanent.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
got it.
Right, so a Memorial Day parade will still continue all the way down
To the
to,
cemetery.
to the cemetery. The school parade is not affected, the homecoming parade's not affected. So all that's really affected is gonna be your Heritage Day, Christmas, that's probably it.
Pretty it.
Okay.
And any other ones that happen to come forward if somebody wants to do a parade.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so. And then next week, when you approve the event permit for the Memorial Day parade, you're just gonna approve that one as Alec has suggested.
Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll get feedback from, the band director or police or whatever if we need to make amendments in the future.
All right.
I don't
Any
think
other
you-
discussion before we vote? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Glorimar,
Next page, 5.
So I'm presenting the first quarter report for the 2024. Yay. There's some changes in this report. I know last year we didn't have the chance to make presentation for the first, second, and third, first and second because of all the changes that we were having in the office. But I did put in there for your review and for understand a little bit 2 years prior to this year, so you can compare and think and maybe have questions why there's difference in numbers. But I also put in there the reason for some of the differences. And some of the one of them is because last year, by the first quarter, we received some amount of money for the Greenwood and Whippoorwill project, so it is recorded into the first quarter. Also, previously, all the money that we received during the first 3 months of the year, they were from the prior year. They were recorded as revenue for that year instead of the previous year, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
But at the end of the year, when the audit comes, that's when they were making the changes. But Kate, who was working with me, the accountant firm that's working with me, she's just like me. We like real numbers. So once I received all the revenues from the previous year, I did enter them with a date of the previous year, so we don't see those revenues like. So it's not like we're in a deficit or anything like that. It's just like this is a regular. In the first quarter of every year, you don't get a lot of revenues. We start getting revenues like right after our first quarter bill, and then after that we have the taxes, and then after that we get all the money from the state and federal. Does anyone has any question about the revenues and expenditures so far for the first quarter?
I really like the charts.
Thank you.
It's so much easier to read. So much easier.
I also appreciated the little notes where it's like, this is higher because
Yep.
This,
remember
yeah.
you bought a police car.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I also put in there that for this year, we're expecting a lot of projects that we're gonna have more expenditures. So just, wait for them on the next two court reports that we're gonna be seeing that. Of course, I am taking classes, I'm learning more, and probably this report is gonna be changing a little bit better. Especially once we get cash flow balances. Now that in this new quarter, we started doing investments with Michigan class. In the next one, you're gonna be seeing all the interests that we've been gaining with that investment that we just did. On one note, audit is done. As far as I know, everything went well. They made questions, they asked for information that they needed to, and we already have a draft of the report. So by the next MCAL meeting, you're gonna be, Dan is gonna come and he's gonna be presenting to you the 2023 financial
Yep,
statements.
in June. And you know it went well because we met with the
Yes.
auditor and
Yes.
he commended you very,
Yes,
very
Yeah.
much so and gave you a lot of good compliments
Yeah.
and you're doing a fantastic job. So
thank you. Yeah, he said that I'm doing pretty good, so,
that's not what he said. He said you're doing fantastic.
yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
So we're working on that. Any questions, suggestions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to financial administration policies update.
Good evening, or not quite yet, afternoon. So what you have in front of you are some financial administration policies updates. These are, will allow us some more flexibility in the office, so we can, when we have people that are off, we can assign, things like bill pays and things like that to different people in the office, so we don't have to be so strict with who exactly does it on a day-to-day basis. And then also, in this one, I think this is the one. Yeah, you had discussed possibly increasing the amount that I could spend without council approval. So I guess I'd need some direction on that if you wanted to do anything more than the 3,000 that's there now. I know Alec had considered, talked about maybe up to like 5 or 10, which that would be, I think, probably appropriate. If you want to do whatever council wants to do with that would be, up to you on that. So,
Mr. President, I mean, we've increased this every year. So, and for good reason. I mean, Alec brought up a good point about when something breaks, it's usually $15,000, right? So, my first thought on this would be, if we're going to increase it, let's increase it so it's in alignment with
The need.
both Alec and Craig's needs. And my guess is that there's going to be circumstances where maybe 5 or even maybe we make it 8, skip a year. I'm just spitballing this because it seems like Craig has come to us at least once a year to, or once a quarter anyway. It feels like once a quarter, I guess, maybe. But if you're unable to do your job as a result of that, I'm certainly willing to be flexible and just get it to the right space. In a number that's a little less ambiguous, what would you, if you could call the ball right now, what would it be?
I think 10 to 15 would be appropriate, and of course with anything, if there is something like this that comes up mid-cycle, I'm going to email everybody, let you know what's going on, reach out for, if you have any questions and things like that, of course. And if we need to, do something different in the future, we can, certainly present something different too. But
Can you give me an example where you would need $10,000?
anything related to water or sewer equipment, if we had something to do with,
Just the seals on one of those pumps was
Right.
$8,000. So-
exactly.
So if you have to pop it open at all,
Yes.
you're already spending 10 grand.
Yes.
I think the caveat was to run it up to 15 on essential infrastructure purchases.
Yep.
I think I personally didn't want to see them be in a position to wait 2 weeks to fix it.
Right.
So,
I think it makes really good sense to right-size this. And I think also in an effort to clean up the timelines and also mitigate some unnecessary banter, to come and discuss a $10,000 purchase when it's critical,
Mhm.
it seems silly. So I'm all for, if we want to go
15?
10 or, if we want to match
just
what
do
Alec
15.
has, I think we decided 15 for him, so.
Yeah,
Right.
do 15.
Well, Alec didn't want to make the
No, he didn't
expense.
want to
He
do-
wanted to have Craig do the purchase. So
Oh, so just be for me.
Well, then there you have it, sir. Yeah, okay, so then I would like to make a motion to make it 15. If we
Yeah.
want to put that on our consent agenda, or if we want to do it right now, I have no preference.
I think this is just for direction so that we can finish amending the document,
Yep,
correct?
if you want to approve it with that amendment, we could do that, or move it to the next meeting with that amendment, then we could amend it before the next meeting and have it for you for that.
I
We
would
could
just
just
say
amend it.
approve it. Yeah,
Let's,
let's do it.
why don't we send the amended document to the next regular council meeting?
Yep.
Have it on the regular agenda, and then that way we can all review the finished
Fair.
document and say, good to
Alright.
go.
Okay,
That's fair.
sounds good. So 15
15
for me? Okay,
for you.
got it. All right.
We need a second on that, though, I believe.
Support.
Okay. We have a motion with support to amend the financial administration policy and bring it to the next council meeting. Any further discussion before?
Do you
we
want to
vote?
include in there the 15,000 that you want in there? Because that's not in the suggestions at this point.
Yeah, let's include that.
Okay. Got you.
Any further discussion before we vote?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Investment policy update.
Okay, so similar to the financial administration policies, just cleaning up some language in there. The last time this was amended, the manager and finance director were one person. So now we have manager and finance director in two separate positions. So we'd like to amend that for those changes.
Make a motion to send it to the consent agenda for the regular meeting.
I'll support that. I do have a couple of comments,
Sure.
or questions.
All right, we have a motion with support and we have further discussion.
With regard to whenever money in that circumstance, whenever there's any kind of money transfer, is the policy to include two approvals before it goes to such a thing as, because we do have two different positions.
It could be either.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like that. The exchange of money usually, typically, when it goes into something like that, goes to two people, one to do the request and then one to approve it. Then it moves on to where, then they move the money, right? So I'm wondering, has that been a consideration? It's kind of weird that wouldn't hit an audit item, if it didn't, because we don't have it yet. But if we do have it, I suspect that might be an audit item.
So everything is, all the bank accounts are reconciled monthly. And also it is something that is audited regularly too. So everything that is transferred between, say, our sweep account to Michigan Class or Huntington or things like that, though they're documented and then also documented in BSNA through Ledger also.
But can only be done by, but is only being done by one person.
One or two.
So what I would recommend is that it's fine if one person has, or two people have authority, that they just get a second approval in that process. I understand the audit and that there's record keeping, but I think just in terms of just that there's awareness by more than just one person when money is being
I
transferred.
agree, that's a good practice.
And who do you think will be the person who's gonna?
So it'd still be the two of you.
It would
It's
still be
just
the two.
both of you.
So we can't spend
Manage.
money if someone gets sick?
No, this
So-
is just
so-
internal transfers.
so
from
functionally-
investment to-
Function, and I guess we would have to set this up, but functionally within those accounts, we don't need additional sign off is what. I mean,
Not
we
from
can-
us. I think
Not
what
from
we're
us.
looking here
No,
is
I know that.
when you make the transfer, then you just have Glorimar review it
And
so that you both know the transfer's been made or vice versa.
We do that.
I don't have to approve it, but I'm still gonna know. Because every time he does the transfer from the account to now Michigan Class, he brings me a copy of the transaction, and then I have to enter that into BSNA.
Well, there's your.
Just in
there's your people.
gap accounting, there's two approvals usually. Just throwing that out there.
I know what you're saying.
I just don't know how we're gonna get that being approved before, unless he fills out a paper saying, hey, Gordon, I wanna do a transfer of some amount of money from the general fund to, Michigan Class. Are you okay with that?
Right, or,
That's exactly what you're looking for?
or.
Probably whatever when there's a transaction, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, this is hard to understand.
No,
but
no,
it's
I
re-
understand what
it-
you're
it-
saying,
It's really just, anytime anybody touches money, it's kind of like, if I can write a check, I can also cash a check, right? And if I can transfer money, there should be awareness by more than one person when money is being transferred, because if it gets reviewed at the end of the month,
Mhm.
if I decide that I'm moving to St. Thomas Island in the next 3 weeks, it won't be audited for 3 weeks.
Right.
Right.
As
So
soon as he put the money in there, I received an email from Michigan Class that says.
that the money's been transferred.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, then
And-
that's fair. Then 2 people do know. All right. Then
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to find
Okay.
out. All right,
And
very
then, just so you're aware also, just for some additional security or maybe,
Peace of mind.
thank you. So anytime we add accounts, so for example, we had to add the secondary account for Huntington to the Michigan Class account, they have to call me, they have to verify everything, they had to call Glorimar to do the same thing before we can even
Very
add that account. So I couldn't like add my credit union account to Michigan Class and say,
Yeah.
hey, transfer $1 million
Okay,
to.
that's fair. Again, I just,
Yep.
because I'm assuming that this is large sums of money, and I'm
Yes.
just curious.
And
as
I
to-
don't wait until the end of the month to reconcile that, because I have to enter that transaction. Sometimes it's not the same day, but the day after I receive the notification into BSNA.
Sure.
In order for me, at the end of the month, have.
To be able to
all that
reconcile it.
information and then
Okay,
reconcile.
that's fair. That answers all my concerns.
Okay.
Then we're all good then.
Okay, Mr. President, I have a question.
Sure. Mhm.
Craig,
Mhm.
have you considered what I mentioned on the phone call?
So adding, I didn't completely consider it because I wasn't sure exactly where you wanted to put it again, but if you want to reiterate that, we can
Okay,
consider that.
I suggested to Craig that at the very beginning of this document, to state very clearly where the buck stops. And that's with the village manager. After anything the council approves, we give him the authority to do certain things within certain limits. But
I think
I
that's,
felt we needed something in the beginning, so we got a lot of people doing a lot of different things, that the manager is where the buck stops. He's the full responsible person. He can delegate to wherever he wishes.
Isn't that basically
That
understood?
was my
in the-
suggestion.
Are you saying circumvent the board approval, just so?
Oh,
you can
no,
do it?
no. Within the limits of what his job
okay,
is.
all right, I
When
get
you
it.
read the document, there's a lot of different people doing a lot of different
Yeah.
things.
I don't think it's very, I don't necessarily know if we need that. It's not necessarily spelled out here, but it's spelled out in my job description and in my
It's
my
inherent in the form
contract
of
and things like
government that we
that,
have.
so.
I take exception to it only by the fact that it's a policy. It's a policy we're approving.
Sure.
And we know what you're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
We want the next person to know that by policy,
I can,
if there is a next person.
okay. I hope not.
Yeah, me too. But it's just, since it's a policy, I think it's important to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can reach out for some additional
Yeah.
consultation on that, sure.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't read. All right. So I think we had a motion with support to move this.
Yep.
Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are on the approved list of village depositories.
So in the efforts to bring our banking more local, Messiah and I are meeting with High Point Community Bank, formerly Hastings City Bank, tomorrow to talk about possibly bringing our banking from Huntington to them, or at least the one option. We'll investigate others too, but they're updating their proposal that you see here for us tomorrow, and we're gonna talk to them about possibly doing that. So in order to do that, we'd have to add them to our approved list of depositories.
I think the only thing for me is because most banks are chains anyway, so locally it's a matter of semantics, but whatever gets us the best results, would be the one I'd go with.
Ultimately, the best results are keeping most of our money with Michigan Class right now, to be
Yeah.
honest. So,
Yeah.
and it would save us, at least me, some gas money going back say, either Hastings or Caledonia to make deposits every other day, so.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd let you know if we did ultimately go with that route.
Are you still, do you need anything with this today, or is
Yep.
this just an update?
Yep, we need to add Huntington,
High Point?
High Point to the list of depositories.
Do you need it today or to full council?
Oh, it can go to full council, that's fine.
I'll make a motion to move the approval of High Point Community Bank as an authorized depository to the next full council meeting.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policy for open board positions.
So this is something we've been working on for the past really year and a half since I started, looking for a way of codifying how we have open board positions, how we advertise for them, how we, present them to council for approval. So this is kind of brand new, but not really. We've been talking about it for so long, it seems like it should be already done. And in practice, we are already doing a lot of this anyway, so.
The only note, if I may, that I had, just because we ran into this banter back and forth at some point, would be if a previous applicant didn't get the role that they wanted, another one came up later down the line and they didn't know they were supposed to reapply. So my personal view is, if there's an applicant that has applied for the same board with a new opening, that new position requires a new application. I don't want to chase people down,
And I think we would consider the previous application or have them, just say, we're,
right.
Yep.
But,
Put a new one in.
for even in hiring practices, it's a new position, a new application, even if they can resubmit their old application
Sure.
with a new date on it. But I do think that it needs, if there's a new position available, that person who's already submitted an application before needs to resubmit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
I don't either. They may not be interested.
Yeah, so I'd like to see that in there.
okay,
I also have a question.
okay.
Back up how you want to clarify that, because I don't think it says that we
It doesn't.
don't do that. So does it say we do
It
that?
It doesn't make it clear that, it doesn't make that practice clear at all in the document. So,
Okay,
I would just be clear under, and I can't remember, under the section 2, and just
Mhm.
put a section, say, if however you want to word it to make it sound a little bit
well,
more.
basically what you're trying to say is previous or something, applications are not retained
Correct.
for future openings or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay, got
So
you.
any new interest would need a new
Yep.
Sure.
application.
Yeah, we can do
Okay,
that.
got it.
So reapplying, so if
Mhm.
someone is already on a seat
Mhm.
who has been on that board for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, do they inherently have an edge up compared to, or not edge up?
No,
No,
No.
so it's
it'd be
all
blank
first
slate
come-
kind of,
it-
yep,
Okay.
exactly.
But if
Yep.
their term is expiring, they do need to submit a
Yep,
letter.
submitted
of
Correct.
interest and
yep,
application.
a new
Correct.
application, yep.
And on top of that, it would be subject, I would think, to the review process that's spelled out there
Yes.
as
Right.
well.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to verify that.
Yep.
For sure.
I think we also need to include that all applications need to come to the office.
Mhm.
So like if we're hiring a DDA director, those applications need to come to the office
Physically or email?
physically to the
So
office.
to get stamped?
So this doesn't.
So that we know they're received.
Yeah.
We do get emails though, because our application. Sorry, our application is online and it's a fillable document. So some people do email them. I don't know that we want to say, I don't know that it would be good practice to say we don't accept an emailed application.
Well, an email application's fine. If they're
Something with
emailed
the-
or physically mailed or dropped
Right.
off, they need to come here so staff can receive them. So that
So
we know
what-
we have them.
Well, and we can put that in our post, usually our postings say where they have
say
to.
Yeah,
apply.
Yeah.
I
Just-
think it should be included in policy as well.
just to say that either it needs to be emailed or dropped off to the office to generate a
received by
time
staff.
receipt.
Okay.
Yeah,
Received by staff is
Yeah.
fine. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a little less chaotic that way.
Right.
And it shows a timestamp on there
Right.
of receipt.
Yeah, we
We
date
do
stamp
that.
them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It also makes it so it's not pulling teeth to get the applications when they don't come to the office.
Right.
There's a part at the bottom, on the bottom too, we note when it was received as well.
Mhm.
And certain things require you to be a registered voter, so that's on our form as well. We check up at the township to see if you're a registered voter. Because like say, some positions require you to be.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if we're going to put this on the website, I think that should be included too. The information should be readily available. So if you're applying, you need to be a registered voter. And then they need to come, applications regardless of position for the village need to come to the village office.
and we've been putting that on there
Mhm.
because the ones that require you to be, the only thing that requires you to be a registered voter now is council, correct?
Correct.
So we do put on there, though, that you have to be a village resident. I mean, any of our recent postings, if you look at them, they say you have to be a village resident. They try to give a little blurb about what you do and that they have to come here, and most of them are to your attention.
Yeah. So
So,
I love that we're already doing it. I just think
Mhm.
this is a great time to put it in policy as well.
okay.
I have another question about number 3. The interviews, it says interviews will be conducted by applicable parties, village president, board chairperson, department head. If the necessary parties are not available, a designee will be appointed.
Should be appointed.
Should be. So is it, when it says village president, board chairperson, department head, is it all?
Not
one?
necessarily. I
So
mean,
if
it could be
someone-
any combination of them. And so if the village president is available, he could, see if Kevin could do it or something like that, or, yeah. So it'd be. the
Okay, so
designated.
my question is if, and I'm going to reference the DDA. If the DDA interviews someone,
Mhm.
should they then be responsible for giving the information to the president and vice versa? Like if one of the entities are not available and not involved in the process, shouldn't they be?
Well, see, to the letter of the law there, that is the checks and balances of the DDA. The DDA is a financial body that is financed by taxpayer dollars of the village. They should not be, or should they ever, appoint their own members because there is no checks and balances to that.
We are their checks and.
We are their checks and balances.
But every other board gets to do that and we.
The other boards are not financial entities
Okay.
of the village.
But they make recommendations for you to
Yeah.
approve ultimately.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
We
think that-
ultimately approve.
Yes.
The
Yes.
end
Yes.
result is that we approve.
The council.
My
ultimately
My whole
approves
point
the
is,
people.
shouldn't the board know the interviewees?
I
No.
got from this document, what I got from it is it's a collaborative effort. That's what I got.
That's what I want.
Right, and
That's what
that's-
I would like it to be. I want to make sure it stays that way. That's what
Right.
I
That's
want.
that's what we're trying to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Perfect.
intention of the document, and that's why it
Perfect.
says that if someone's not available, it should be a designee.
Okay,
Right.
So that would be like if you're doing a planning commission spot, then Doug should be part of that discussion.
exactly. Okay, part of the discussion. That's
And
what I'm talking about.
ZBA or,
Yeah.
like
Right.
Okay,
And then
Yeah.
collaborate,
LDFA,
then
yeah.
collaborate with the village
Okay.
president who makes the appointments, and then the
Yeah.
board comes to approval. So I think
exactly.
it's very.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Well, I don't make the recommendations
I
for the
know.
planning commission.
Yeah.
The planning commission makes the recommendations for the planning commission.
Yeah, but nonetheless, it's a collaborative effort. So-
I'm not involved until they get here with planning commission.
Well, previous village presidents have sat on interviews for all appointments.
Okey dokey.
Okay, so we'll make the amendments and we'll bring it back at a later meeting.
It will probably not be next week.
Probably not next week's,
Mm-mm.
correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Little free pantry renewal. This comes up every year. We need to have the renewal so we can,
I mean, let's be honest. I have zero financial interest in this box. I just maintain it. Do
I
I
don't-
have to abstain?
I don't think you do.
We checked, you have not been abstaining.
Okay, I just want
I don't
No.
think you need to.
No, you have not been abstaining.
What I'm not gonna do is make the motion to approve the agreement. So someone else can take that if they'd like to.
I'll make a motion. Huh?
I'll support
Has everybody read the agreement?
Back
It's
up.
pretty
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the Little Free Pantry agreement renewal between the village and Cub Scout Troop 3065.
Do you want that consent agenda or full?
To consent.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it matters, but they're not a troop.
They're a pack.
Pack.
Well, it
I mean,
says troop on
I mean,
It does say
ultimately,
troop up there,
it's,
but they are a pack. A
it's-
troop is
it's-
a different
All
The,
right.
the agreement is in my name and I sign it.
Okay.
It is in benefit of Cub Scout Pack 3065.
All right, so Cub Scout pack.
So it went to, well, that would change is the agreement correct?
Yeah, I sign it.
Okay, so the way it's worded in the agreement that's been here forever, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And that
I'm
was
a
to
Cub
consent
Scout leader in
agenda?
spirit, and
Yes.
You
I
all
will
set?
be again shortly.
And
Okay.
someone supported me.
And I
think it
did-
was Richard.
Just so you know, it expired. So I do have a note to be.
Well, thank you for not tearing it down.
Yeah, so I have a note already, I have a
somebody tried
yearly
to.
note already on my calendar to make sure it doesn't expire again.
Somebody
So-
tried tearing it down, but
And Mr. President, just as a comment on that, I see people adding and removing all the time there. It's a phenomenal resource for the community. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with that. And it's, and I love that it's discreet and I think it's just a great resource. It's a great idea and I'm really thankful that we have it, for sure.
And it's very well kept and well painted.
It really
Next to
is.
certain
It's very well
individuals.
kept.
when people don't try to tear the door off.
Maybe on
Well, you
purpose.
My wife makes a weekly trek and she's always impressed by how clean it is and stuff.
It is a community effort and I am, like, as the person that maintains it, I mean, I stop, every time I come here, I look in there and I make sure it's clean and taken care of, but the community does a lot of the work. It is far more successful than I ever imagined.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
All right, shall we vote?
Okay, we have a motion to support to approve the agreement for the Little Free Pantry with the one correction, I'm spelling my name correctly. Can you flip the A and the E for me before you bring that?
That's been probably wrong every year.
More than likely. But now that I'm filling out a bunch of legal paperwork elsewhere, it turns out that matters.
Do you want that in consent agenda?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, that's fine. Just the correction is all we
Yep.
need. All right. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
thank you.
That's why I changed my name to Kevin Smith, because it was really easy.
All right, Mr. Powers, ordinance 2138.
Good evening, council. So this is in regards to the items that were referenced at the March 26th meeting, where we discussed about changes that were required to the statute regulating how the planning commission conducts business. So these changes would allow for the planning commission to potentially not have meetings if there was no business requiring action. And I just put this in here as a note, that being that this is a regulatory ordinance opposed to an amendment to the village zoning ordinance, a public hearing is not required. I don't know if anyone has any questions specific to this, because I know we discussed it quite a bit at the March meeting. Comments, questions, concerns, anything, but the changes are in reference to the statutory duties of the secretary, being that we have a recording secretary that does some of those duties as a staff person, as well as, like I said, we're now being held to what the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act requires for the Planning Enabling Act in regards to how many meetings we need to conduct a year. We'll still schedule 12 meetings a year, but that way we can cancel.
Mr. President, I would like to move the adoption of ordinance 2138 to our consent agenda.
It's an ordinance, so we'll have
Have
to
to
move that to
vote
the
on it.
regular agenda.
Fair,
And we will probably move it to the last meeting, because that's the one Doug attends.
regular meeting.
Yeah, the one on the fourth Tuesday.
28th.
Everything that has just been corrected on
Yep.
that erroneous motion, I would like to submit that.
Support.
We have a motion with support to move ordinance 2138 to the last council meeting of the month of June,
May.
May,
May.
to the regular agenda. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Public comment. If anybody would like to speak.
All right, final council comment? Anybody like to start?
Yeah, I'll go first. I've got nothing.
Mr. Hamilton? All right. Mr. Bishop?
I'm good.
Mr. Baldry?
Yeah, I got a question. Get back to the open positions. Sorry to reverse myself. We hold that for 30 days for applicants to apply. Did we put I couldn't find it in there. Did we put a time frame when we would close it and fill the position?
The due date's listed on there.
So yeah, after the
Yeah.
30 days, staff reaches out and we schedule interviews.
I understand that, but do we say we try to do that within the next 30 days?
Isn't there like it seems like there's a window we have to hit.
There's a window for council positions for sure, but
Yeah.
for everybody else, there's not a specific
Not
window.
specific.
Mhm.
And even that window is fuzzy because it's within a reasonable amount of time.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So the way I read it is any positions posted will have a due date of applications due. And then the village staff has 30 days, or the boards have 30 days to reach out to those individuals to schedule interviews from the date of the application
Nope.
or the date of the close.
No, there's just the
30 days.
I think it's
Okay.
it falls back under the reasonable time.
Yeah, yeah.
Timeline for the rest because it's going to depend on how you could get interviews in and
Yeah.
depending, I mean, if we're going to try to advertise an open position 60 days before it expires. So we can't necessarily say we'll fill it in 30 if it doesn't even expire for 60.
Yeah.
So,
And I think the flexibility allows for if we didn't get any applicants or if we
Mhm.
wanted to add additional applicants.
Or
Right.
if we have 13 meetings in 3 weeks and we need to
Right.
find a window to
Right.
interview somebody. Yeah.
Just in my own mind, I'll use the DDA. I think there's been applicants that it seems like the time frame just
Carries on. Yeah.
goes and goes and goes. We get no resolution on it.
Well, we filled one position and then we reposted another one because there was a resignation. So it feels like it keeps going on, but we did fill one of the positions.
Because when we spoke at our last meeting, David, starts with an S.
Yeah.
Sclerin.
Oh, yeah. I said that I wasn't prepared to do that. And the reason for that is I didn't think it had run its course with the DDA. I still think he's a great applicant, don't get me wrong. But I didn't think it had run its course. And I was trying to think, what's a reasonable time frame that we would look at something like that? He is, as far as I'm concerned, a qualified applicant. But, so just a little gray area for me.
Mr. President, I do have something.
Well, let's let Mr.
if I
Baldry
may.
finish. And if you want to go a second time, you are more than welcome to it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll throw that one out there. And then I got two more. I went to the county clerk. I got my ordinance for my ORV. They couldn't find it. They looked in 3 different buildings. Used to be paper, didn't get put into the digital, blah, 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 blah. So I said, can you just email it to me? And they said, yeah, we find it. 3 hours later, unfortunately, I gave them my own email. So I forwarded it to my village email. Barracuda, all this type of stuff. I can't open, what a waste of time. And then the other one was I got an email from you that got, they said it was a phishing one.
Oh, it was.
There was a phishing one.
That was
Actually
Yes.
was.
Yeah, I did,
So
so I didn't have to do
If you hover
nothing.
over it,
Mhm.
like it'll say it's from me, but the email is not mine.
No.
Just delete it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we all got that one.
Yeah, we all got
My
that.
problem is now I can't open my own email that I sent to the village, even though it says do this, do that, Barracuda, code this, code that, put it through your phone, do this, do that. And it just didn't work. So I printed it out, so I got it, but it just, I don't know how to overcome some of my handicaps here.
No, that's not you. The amount of times that I do a duo push in the course of a day is ridiculous. Every time I change applications, I have to do another duo push.
Okay, that was my,
It's not just you, it's everybody.
okay.
Mr. Smith?
Oh,
Goodness.
But what, were you done? Because you said two more things and you
Yeah,
said one
that was
more.
one.
Oh, that was one?
Yeah,
Oh,
Okay, I was the big one. I'll call.
okay. I'm looking out for you, Steve.
if you remember, we'll circle back.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, look, the alternative is that we have an encryption attack and then everything is, if the kimono is open. So, I get it. I had a challenge to the extent where it took me weeks to get my email set up just because I have multitudes of those applications on my phone and need it. So it's not easy. None of that's easy ever. We're going to face challenges until we get accustomed to it. The good news is that there's usually windows of time and it tries to be a light touch. We're paying for it, so we should definitely leverage. If you ever have any challenges, the folks at our
K Group.
technology, our K Group, I think they're readily available most of the time. I would just encourage to pass that frustration onto them and let them solve it. It's magical because they'll do a great job to help you. But just in that phishing exercise alone, just the fact that you said it was from Mike Kramer.
I'm kind of mad that I didn't get the email from myself.
It's chilling. It's chilling to know that that's how close we are at any given moment to a particular cyber attack. So as somebody who is deeply entrenched in that space and I'm going to go on a brief soapbox. This is the front line of how we are fighting our enemies every day. These are people that hate this country and they are stealing from us, especially small to mid-sized businesses and small municipalities. It's an everyday occurrence and I have worked through them personally. And it is a nightmare scenario. So the frustration is real, but I would highly encourage you to just get K Group on speed dial. It's Kim, right? I think Beth. I keep getting those messed up. Beth has been magical in navigating that. So I would just encourage all of us to just reach out to Beth and have her solve that issue directly. And I know there's a lot of commentary based on that, but I think it's just something that it's the new norm and we're just going to have to figure it out. And by the way, you can always call me too. I'm happy to help you. Something that I would like to, and obviously I can't do it here during the comment section, but I have been talking to the post office. We have had this particular issue die on the vine and just go into limbo multitudes of times. And finally, I'm just going to do it and I'm going to present it as a solution. Businesses in downtown Middleville don't have a mailbox. We are subject to rural postal rules, which means the union has specific baselines from how they operate. And so I've had a very long and engaging conversation with our friendly postmaster general down here in Middleville. He's a great guy and was really patient because I didn't understand why we don't have mailboxes down here. He said that it was the village, and then I said it was the post office, and then we had that little that we danced for a while on that one. But I think we finally got to a point where we've discussed it. We need to fund it. We need to pull the trigger because businesses in downtown would love to send and receive email without having to drive to the post office. And if we're going to do that for Craig, so he doesn't have to drive to Hastings, I don't think that it is way out of band to support our businesses in downtown and say it's okay to have a mailbox. So I propose there's 2 locations. We've debated whether or not the back here was a good solution. We have a wonderful opportunity since we are now diving into the parking lot next to the old fire barn. Maybe that would be a good location as well. And it's just It's right off the beaten path. They wouldn't even have to get out of their vehicle and just pull right up to it. It's going to be freshly redone and it's going to look beautiful. Maybe we just incorporate that concept since we were breaking ground up there anyway. Let's consider potentially putting the mailboxes up there, right along the back end of the what I believe is going to be some form of shop or something, like a workshop or a welding place or whatever. But that area would be great for people once we have that new wall and the paved driveway. I think it might be a nice place as well to consider for the mailboxes. They're a cluster. That seems to be the new norm for development. And so if everybody could just walk to High Street, grab their mail and go back to their business, I think that would be a phenomenal add to the village. And it's something that people have literally been asking for years. So I'm hoping hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have more information as to what that looks like. And then maybe we can start to have a discussion as to the viability of putting those mailboxes there. It's silly that I mean, I have 5 businesses in my building, and the first question that they ask is, how do I get mail? Just something to ponder over the weekend, and I'll get with Craig and go over what that looks like. I got a really great document on what the mailbox structures are supposed to look like. We can work through the details as far as the location in the parking lot, but maybe that might be another ideal location for that. And we can finally just put that concept to bed, because it's been debated it's not even been debated. I think we always agree to it. We just haven't had it on our agenda to move forward with. So something to ponder.
I would talk with,
Two key issues to take into account for that is we would have to own it, which would mean we would have to maintain it. And someone is going to have to administrate which business gets which box and maintain keys.
Yeah, that's
If that's the route we're going to go, we're going to have to find a spot in the budget and then designate an administrator for that box. So there needs to be a plan moving forward.
Sure.
On how we maintain it and how we administrate it.
Great.
So, I mean, that would be something, if the board feels that's something that we should look into, then we could put that on a future agenda after we've gathered some more data.
Great.
And then also for fishing, there's some great free webinars you can take on cyber security and phishing.
Make
You
sure
know, what to
spell it
look
right, 'cause
for.
otherwise you're going to get some great videos.
Right, yeah. So, being in a corporate world, I had to go through every quarter training sessions, and cybersecurity was always one of those. So there's always great webinars you can search, and they teach you, what to look for, and then just etiquette on that.
I'm well versed.
Okay.
I retired from a company. The main office was in Germany. We had Japan, we had Italy, we
Yeah,
had offices all over the United States. We had like 3,000 emails flying back and forth. Technical internet managers, that change your password every 5 minutes and all that type of stuff. It was easier than it was trying to get my
I
email into
agree.
here.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Mr. Smith, you all set?
That's it.
Ms. Williams?
I'm good.
Mr. Baldry, would you like to go
Sure.
again?
Hamilton.
Wrong end of the table. Mr. Hamilton, would you like to go
Are
again?
you?
I got more hair than he does.
You're not well. You're not well.
I got up at 2:45 to get to this meeting.
All right. Well, speaking to the mailboxes, if we can have a columbarium in the Mount Hope Cemetery, we certainly ought to be able to manage mailboxes. So
Oh, we don't manage that.
I know township does. I mean, it's not like somebody moves every day. Of course, somebody dies every day, but not
Anyway,
necessarily in the columbarium. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
this-
Have at her.
This is 21 cents a day. That's horrible. Excuse me, 70 days for $15. Complaining. 21 cents a day.
Well,
Excuse me.
unfortunately, I see both sides of that argument because they did have an agreement when they were put in. But things change. I mean, there are a lot of things that have changed since that agreement was put
That's
into
right.
place. So
We don't
I-
have a,
I would love for Mr. Unger to come in and have a face-to-face discussion with how that has changed.
well, the dictator here is dead, so you're the new one.
Well,
That's all I got to say.
I'll make a motion. Oh, wait, no, you gotta go.
all right, so we did have a very productive police contract meeting the other day. Look for some changed language.
Mhm.
Highlights are going to be that we are going to increase the training budget and allow it to roll over so that if they cannot get a training in the calendar year because it's too far away or they just can't schedule it, then they have a little bit extra in the budget. Maybe they bring the training here the next year. We're looking at how we purchase and maintain cruisers again because there's a staff change, so that might be included in new language in the near future, and we adjusted the amount of hours that were in the contract so it's more clear. So look for those changes in the future, positive meeting otherwise. Beyond that, that's all I had. I wanted to thank Craig for organizing it so we could get together and
Yeah.
work through it and the work that Doug's probably going to put on it pretty soon. And Mark in advance. I know he's going to have a power tie when he comes to present, so. Other than that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. A motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
We have a motion with support to adjourn. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Hooray! Hooray! Yeah.
12 hours. So your gavel was bugging me. It has been the entire time I've been here. So yesterday I adjusted it.